Classic full powered Magnums, 357 Magnum versus 44 Magnum. What I have today is the Remington HTP ammunition. Our 357 Magnum is a 158 grain semi-jacketed hollow point. That's more of the classic load. And our 44 Magnum, again, is a very classic load, 240 grain semi-jacketed hollow point. I believe the 357 Magnum is rated at 1250 feet per second through a 4-inch barrel. Our 44 Magnum, it says on the box it's rated at 1180 feet per second. That's probably also through a 4-inch barrel. And I have basically my 4-inch barrels out here today. My Smith & Wesson 686, 357 Magnum with a 4 1/8 inch barrel, and my Smith & Wesson Model 69 with a 4 1/4 inch barrel. The 686 actually weighs about 2 ounces more than this Model 69 here, but they're pretty similar in weight. So I think this is kind of a fair way to test these to see, you know, what kind of performance we get, because these are more of a self-defense load. That's really the point of the semi-jacketed hollow point. And you don't see too many loads like that in 44 Magnum anymore. So I am going to go through the chronograph, see what kind of velocity and accuracy I get at the same time. Then I'm going to hit my 10% clear ballistic gel pack test here. I'm going to go into plain clear ballistics to see what the best potential is of those cartridges are. After that, I'm going to do more of a real world simulation where I have 4 layers of denim on the first piece here. That's a 3-inch piece that represents our pectoral muscle after that 3-inch piece. I'll have a 1/4 inch medium density fiberboard to represent hitting ribs or sternum. That'll be more of our real world simulation. And then I think I am going to shoot at my bad guy target here. I'll put him up and I'll go back to 7 yards to see what kind of follow-up shots I can get on that, because a lot of people say you cannot get follow-up shots with 44 mag. It's impossible. I don't know why they say that, but they do say that. And then I probably will shoot at my steel silhouette if I have any rounds left, see what kind of practical accuracy I get on steel. So let's get started with this test. All right, so I just looked up the velocity numbers for our 357 mag. It's rated at 1235 feet per second. I didn't see a barrel length listed. And our 44 mag, 240 grains, rated at 1180 feet per second. So I'm about 5 yards from this target. Let's see what kind of velocity I get here with our 357. See how close we get to 1235 feet per second. 1326. 1285. 1267, 1310, 1317, so above rated velocity. Our 44 Magnum, rated at 1180 feet per second. Let's see what I get here. 1238, 1172, 1190. 1189, 1213, so a little bit above rated velocity, and that does hurt my wrist quite a bit. Let's set our ballistics gel block and see how these compare. Case ejection is not too bad. This Model 69 has always had issues with case ejection with pretty much any ammo, but this is not too bad. So let's our ballistics gel block, see how these compare. All right, plain clear ballistics, our best potential here. 357 Magnum, let's see what this will do. All right, let me set that back up and hit with the 44 Magnum now. All right, best potential, plain clear ballistics, 44 Magnum. Let's see what this does. Let's take a look. All right, so those hit with a ton of force and they both penetrated really deep. I was not expecting to see such deep penetration with either of these. They went very, very deep here. It's hard to say if I would consider that over penetration for personal defense or not. You know, the thing is, when you go through enough material, if it were to pass through, let's say, an attacker, there's not necessarily a lot of steam on the other side of that person. But generally, if I can stop them in 2 blocks, I'm not super concerned about it. But what we have is about 25 1/4 inches penetration with our 357 Magnum. Camera parallax sometimes makes this look like that's not right, but when you're looking at it straight on where I'm at, it's 25 1/4 inches. Our 44 mag, a little bit closer to 25.5 inches of penetration. And from what I can tell, it looks like they both had some expansion. So let's put on our denim, put on our MDF. That's more of our real world simulation. See how they compare that way. All right, 4 layers of denim, a 1/4 inch medium density fiberboard represents our ribs, more real world. Let's see what I can do here with this 357 Magnum. Let me set that back up. That hit really hard. And hit it with the 44 mag. All right, 44 mag, same thing here. See how I get with this. Woo. Let's go take a look at that. All right, so I don't know where all the fiberboard is. This is what's left of it, and this is going to be where our 44 mag hit. Massive hole. And I don't know where the impact is with the 357, but take my word for it, I looked at it when I was setting it back up, and there was a hole through it, you know, really big around. So both of these mushroomed really, really big here and did a massive amount of damage. Our 357 mag, I can see that mushroomed out bullet tip very easily. We're at about 16 3/4 inches penetration. That is very good. A lot of damage in there. Our 44 Magnum, we're only at about 14 3/4 inches penetration. And again, a massive mushroom. When it's going through our plain gel, there's just not that much resistance there, and it just doesn't show as much expansion as what we see through our medium density fiberboard. So that's a lot different than what we normally see with hollow point ammunition. Here's the plain gel with our 357 mag on the bottom, our 44 mag on top. Through our MDF, a little closer, but still a little bit bigger with our 44 mag. So I'm going to say that the performance of this, I would say, is really good in our real world simulation. You know, it hits something like a bone simulation and it mushrooms out and does a massive amount of damage. So most rounds that I test, they look fantastic when you're going through gel, plain gel, which makes things look good, but then, you know, you go in more real world simulation and they look terrible. This is the opposite. So I would say these would have a lot of stopping power just by looking at this. So let's take a close-up look at these bullets. And I'm going to shoot up my paper target up close from 7 yards, see what kind of practical shootability and follow-up shots I can get with that. So let's do that. All right, here's a close-up look at these bullets here. Our 357 going through our plain gel versus our 44 Magnum going through our plain gel. We had fragmentation going through the plain gel, and that's probably just because we had a lot of expansion immediately. And you know, that really massive expansion would then shed off pieces of that lead. And I normally have to mark bullets like this to tell which is which when I do comparisons, but we can definitely tell that's the 357, that's the 44 mag. Now when we went through more of our real world simulation here, big difference here. 357 Magnum mushroomed really big here, and it probably did not shed as much of that bullet off because after going through denim and the MDF, it just slowed it down a little bit because most of the fragmentation is after 3 inches here up in this block, very deep into it. Our 44 mag, on the other hand, massive expansion going through that real world simulation. If I had to guess, I'd say that's 85/100ths of an inch. I haven't measured these yet, but that would be my guess. Just a massive bullet, big old mushroom on the back here. Just a huge amount of expansion and damage, and you know, a lot of energy dump, which is surprising. More energy dump with the denim and MDF, but at the same time that makes sense. Being a soft point, it doesn't really matter, or being a soft semi-jacket, a hollow point, it doesn't really matter if you clog that with denim, because in a sense it is just a soft point in a way. You know, it'll mushroom a little easier than a fully filled in soft point, but You know, we're not looking at something that's like a traditional hollow point where it's really dependent on pressure getting in the hollow point. It's more or less there's a hollow point that collapses and it becomes a massive soft point. So that's a close-up look at those bullets. I'd say very impressive. All right, so I am 21 feet from the target here. At least my hands will be about 21 feet, which is 7 yards. That's, you know, historically the average distance that, you know, typical self-defense encounters happen in. So I'm going to pull up from the holster, get a sight picture, and I'm going to fire 2 on target to see, you know, what kind of follow-up shots I can get here. So I'll start with our 357 mag, see how that looks. All right, I'd say that's probably acceptable. Let's move on to the 44 Magnum. I haven't shot this like this in a long time, so I don't know how this is going to go, but I'll see what I can do. 44 mag. See, he's hurting a little bit. Let's take a look at that. All right, so pretty good hits, I guess. 44 mag went a little bit high here, and I think I hit one of them right here. 357's a little bit tighter grouping. I'd say overall it's pretty acceptable. So let me do a 2 here, 1 here. See if I can do that with these and see how that looks. All right, 2 to the body, 1 that had our Mozambique drill here. Honestly, a 357 or 44 Magnum, I can't imagine that really being a need, but let's just find out how I can do here. So 357 Magnum. Right. 44 Magnum. Let me put that in the holster here. All right, so from the holster. So take a look. So I am shooting these a little bit more to the right with the 44, but up here that actually was a benefit. So our 357 here, that'd not be good here. And then up here, our 44 I would say is a little more, I would say more ideal, because this is the left side of the guy if he's standing at me, and you know, left side's pretty damaging there, and then more centered there. So honestly, I'm not seeing a big difference here between the 2 of these. You know, and when I'm seeing that sight, that front sight, when I pull that up, it's kind of like, it's like this. It's like all over, and I'm just like pop, pop, and then I just bring it back on target, and it looks like it would effectively work. So let me shoot at my steel, see what kind of practical shootability I can get with it on steel now. All right, so I'm at my 25-yard marker. Let's see if I can make any hits with the 357 Magnum. All right, same thing here, 44 Magnum. So they are shooting a little bit high for me. So let me back it up a little bit. All right, so I came back to 75 yards. I haven't been back here in a while shooting from this distance. And, you know, Magnums are also something that people use for hunting. So I could kind of see something like this where, you know, it's a dual purpose. You're hunting or you're using it for self-defense. So let's see what I can do with our 357 mag. See if I can get any hits from 75 yards. Shot really high with that one. Wow. I'm not doing so well. Let me try one in single action, see if it's just me. So for whatever reason, those just seemed like they shot all over the place for me. I don't know if it's just me or if it's the ammo, but the first one shot over the target pretty high, and then I was aiming center and a little bit low center, and they were all hitting below the target. So it could have just been one round that was off. And then I had to change my hold, and that kind of threw me off. So let me try a 44 mag in single action, see how this does for me. Again, that hit right above the target. Hit really hard, but it was above the target. So I'll try some more here. I'm going to aim at the very base of the target. So I could tell within 2 shots I wasn't going to do very good, so I just popped them off. Some days I do pretty well at this distance, other days not so much. I do have rheumatoid arthritis and it is flaring up, and this is kind of wrist snapping, so it's going to cause me to flinch a little bit. I probably have 3 or 4 other excuses I could pull out, but I think that's good enough for now. But yeah, at distance I didn't do so well with these, but up close they seemed like pretty good cartridges. The 357 mag was a little easier to shoot, obviously, than the 44 Magnum. But the 44 Magnum is one of those things where it just takes a little bit more timing to make sure you get that follow-up shot. At 7 yards, it did perfectly fine for me at getting follow-up shots. One thing about that 44 mag is it does cause me to flinch a lot more, because when I hold it normal hold like this, and I go to pull off a shot, there's a lot of back blast from here that comes and it burns my thumb. I even have like a little cut here from it doing that. So you see me, I hold up a little bit higher, and it just kind of makes me hold kind of loose with it. So I don't know if it's just this revolver, if that's just how some 44 mag ammo is, but pretty much it's happened with every ammo. But what I saw is it's very shootable at close range. Did perfectly fine. I was a little more accurate with the 357 when I was slow firing. But the thing here, when we look at the terminal ballistics, this is where it really gets interesting, because this is a lot different than what I normally see. We see this fantastic performance with our real-world simulation. And I think part of that is because a semi-jacketed hollow point, even though it's a hollow point, it's designed a lot different than a typical hollow point. A typical hollow point is designed to pedal out with, you know, it's got copper all the way to the nose of that bullet. It pedals out. A semi-jacketed, on the other hand, there's not a lot of difference between that and a jacketed soft point. If you were to shoot a semi-jacketed soft point and a semi-jacketed hollow point into a large animal that has a lot of big tough ribs, the bullet on the other end of that would look the same, basically, because that soft lead tip would mushroom out. As where if you were to take like a traditional jacketed hollow point versus a full metal jacket or something like that, it would be completely different results between the two of those. So it makes sense to me why the semi-jacketed hollow point mushroomed out like that. So I'm going to say overall, for personal defense, I think this is these are both pretty good choices. Personally, I would probably choose lighter loads if I was going for straight up personal defense, but a 158 grain 357 and a 240 grain 44 mag is kind of a dual purpose load, where it's pretty good for hunting or defense against a dangerous animal, but yet it's just good enough you can use it for self-defense, because it's not really going to over penetrate too significantly bad. So pretty good just all around loads here with both of these. So that's what you get today with my testing of this. So as always, comment, share, and like, and thanks for watching.